What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Taylor Hinton Speaks His Mind, the number one online health and fitness podcast in the world. And today is, of course, our 7:30 to 8:30 a.m. PST support call for our clients. So essentially, I jump on here 3 times a week. I'm on Monday, Tuesday, and then my wife, Angela, she's on Wednesday, Thursday, where either of us makes ourselves available for a full hour in the morning to answer any questions for our clients. A lot of them have some things that go on over the weekend or throughout the day to day. And yeah, of course, they can message us at any time and they can pop inside the group chats that we have available to them to get some questions answered. But at the end of the day, it's always just like text dialogue back and forth, and being able to speak directly with your coach to get a straightforward, correct answer that is thoughtful, in depth, where we can engage in dialogue back and forth can sometimes bring a little bit more clarity to the situation. So that's why we're here for this. And as soon as a client pops in and they have a question, they got to share a win, and then, yeah, we'll make sure that we're available and answer whatever kind of questions they got. Hopefully, you guys get some value out of this. What's up, Raven and Aubrey? I don't know who popped in here first, but who wants to go ahead and share a win first and ask a question? All right, you're going to make me do it then, I guess. Raven.
I
Oh, Aubrey, go ahead. Yeah, there you go.
um what was the question? Oh, I have questions. Did you say when?
Yeah, share a win first.
I moved my workouts around for this week and next week so
Yep,
I don't miss any of them.
good. Awesome. Cool. Yeah, you took care of it early, got everything organized properly, so you're not going to miss a workout.
Yep.
I'm all about it, dude. All right.
Um question, or is it Ravens? Sorry.
No, 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 you go.
Okay. Um so I've noticed that I like get too hungry and then when I'm preparing my lunch or food that I like go wild and just eat a lot
Mm.
while I'm preparing it. So, would you recommend staying ahead of the hunger, or because I know we're supposed to feel a little bit hungry in a deficit?
Hmm. Staying ahead of the hunger. How are you going to stay ahead of the hunger?
Um, I guess trying to eat when you're not extremely hungry yet.
Okay. Do you go to bed hungry?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's mainly in the mornings that I feel like, or not mornings. Yeah, in the mornings because it's either I eat at like 5 a.m. or like 10 a.m.
You got all your food
is my
tracked.
slots to eat.
All your food that you ate last week, is that all the food that you had? You didn't sneak anything else?
Um, on Wednesday there was candy that I didn't know or forgot to scan. Actually, I might have put it in there. I think it's in there. So yeah,
Okay, so
that's all
either
there.
okay, good. Cool. So you got all that set up.
Yep.
Okay, so what we're gonna do first off here is we're going to reverse diet you. Okay.
Okay.
Um, because I know we have our call later, technically.
Yeah.
We might be able to tackle everything we need to here. And if we have a little bit more, then I'll let Raven pop in here too for a second. But if more people start piling in, then let me know. Because I'm not looking at this at Zoom right now. I'm just looking at Aubrey's profile. But here's what I think this is the direction I think we should go, Aubrey. Um, I think what we need to do is we need to do a bit of a reverse diet for the next 8 to 12 weeks. Okay. And
Got
that'll
it.
give us basically the purpose of what this will be. Let me bring this down here. The purpose of our reverse diet is to reset your metabolism, essentially. I hate the term resetting your metabolism, but it really is the only logical way practical way to explain what we're trying to do. Over time, when you're eating low calories, your metabolism does adapt. Like, you don't die. I mean, eventually you would if you starved yourself entirely. And we use the analogy of, like, look at the people on Survivor. They're on Survivor for, it's shorter seasons now, 26 days. It's like it was 39 days, a month. Essentially, they go an entire month eating, 90% of the days that they exist out there, they're eating probably like 500 calories, 600 calories, or something like that. between a little bit of rice, beans, and maybe they catch a fish once in a while. So they all get skinny. Like they all lose tons and tons and tons of weight. But that is a shorter window of time and that happens very rapidly. They're also probably a lot more active than they normally are throughout the rest of the day. Um, like throughout the rest of their normal lives. So they're increasing their activity and they're dropping calories down dramatically for a very short window of time. So they lose a lot of weight. But if you are like slowly, chronically dieting over time, then your metabolism will eventually adapt to those lower calories. And it does it by a couple ways. One, you metabolically will slow down. Like your body just stops burning calories at the same rate that it used to because it's trying to adapt to the lower calories to make sure you don't die. Because if your metabolism still keeps revving at a very, very high rate, very efficiently, while you're eating very, very low calorie and the low calories don't really seem to be changing, you're just constantly eating low calories, your body eventually goes, well, we got to slow this down a little bit. Otherwise, we're going to kill her. So it'll go from, let's say, on average, maybe 2,000 calories a day being burned down without activity, down to like 1,800, 1,700, and so on and so forth until you've now reached maintenance by metabolic adaptation, not by increasing calories. So the only solution, there's two directions that we could go from that spot, and that is we can drive calories down again and get you into like ultra low calories where we're like 1,200 calories a day. Um, and that will produce more fat loss results, but it also produces a lot more just weight loss results in general. So when we think of weight loss versus fat loss is very specific. It is fatty tissue. When it comes to weight loss, that could be weight from any part of your body, and that can be scary. I mean, there's water weight. Okay, that's not a big deal. But beyond that, there's muscle tissue, there's organs, there's bones, and your body will slowly chew away at those things over time if you consistently are in very, very low calorie. And so if we do that route, like we lose more weight, but it's not going to be good weight. You're going to lose a lot of energy. Your cognitive function is going to decline. Your hormones, libido, all that stuff starts to drop down. Bone density starts to drop down. It's unsafe. It's unhealthy. The opposite thing is to say, let's take one step back so that we can take two steps forward because we're really just stalled out at this point. I just looked at your weigh in and it's unchanged from where we want it to be. And you've been consistently tracking. So by reverse dieting, we increase your calories slowly over time, signaling to your body that you're getting more food. So your body goes, oh, cool, we can chill a little bit. Let's start burning more calories again. We increase your calories again. And we do this week to week to week. It's like 100, 150 calories every week. And what we're looking for through this is that one, your weight will probably go up a little bit. There's water weight, there's, the muscles are filling up with water, maybe a little bit of fat that comes on, unlikely though. But the weight will likely go up. That's okay. It's expected. What we're looking for is that your waistline stays relatively the same, maybe increasing by like an inch. Your energy significantly comes up and your sleep quality comes up. If those things are in check, waistline's around the same, energy's up, sleep is up, then we're on the right track and we're going to keep increasing calories, even if you gain some weight, which can feel kind of scary, especially when I'm telling you we're going to do this for 8 to 12 weeks. But the goal is to get you from your 1592, like 1600 calories, up to well over 2000 calories, maybe close to even 2,500 calories with your weight relatively unchanged, maybe like 4 pounds up in water, which is totally cool. And that means that now we have reset your metabolism back at the top. We're burning really efficiently. And then we can do an aggressive short term drop. In that way, we can target fat loss because now your metabolism is working the way that we want it to. And it's not chewing up bones and muscle, it's chewing up all the fat tissue. So I know that wasn't your question, but it's related to your question. That's the process that we're going to take. When it comes to like to address the very simple question of like, I find myself snacking when I'm making food. Should I start eating more food a little bit earlier before I get really hungry to avoid the snacking thing? That's really a preference thing. It really comes down to what you're willing to give up. Like what is the where do you want to be hungry? That's like when I'm dieting really hard and I realized this and I found that, doing a bodybuilding competition was extremely valuable for me understanding my own body and how to manipulate calories and like understanding the struggle and pain that goes into dieting. Um, you have to, when you're dieting, everybody, when you're in a calorie deficit, you are going to be hungry at some point or another. And if you don't feel really hungry on select days or for the first part of your diet, then hell yeah, good for you. That's awesome. Nice little bonus. Kind of like the same thing with motivation. Motivation is going to come and go when you feel motivated. Ooh, nice. A little extra bonus for the day. But don't rely on motivation to get to your results. It's the same thing with eating in a calorie deficit. Don't expect that you're not going to be hungry. You are going to be hungry. You have to decide which hours of the day you prefer to be hungry in. And that's totally a preference thing. For me, if I'm going back to my bodybuilding days, this is nearly 10 years ago at this point. In fact, it is 10 years ago when I started getting ready for the competition. Um, Especially the last 6 weeks when you're bone dry, like veins in your abs, super, super tired and weak. I'm hungry all day. You eat a full meal, and I feel equally as hungry as I did right before the meal. Going to bed hungry. All that stuff sucked. But there was ways that I could hack that. And we know of a few things that can help us reduce hunger. One is going to be sleep. Okay. Sleep is going to be the best way that you can reduce your hunger. The more hours that you're awake throughout the day, the more conscious time that you're spending thinking and feeling hunger. So if you can get more hours of quality sleep, that's going to reduce hunger because in two ways. One, you're just simply spending less time being consciously aware of your hunger. So that's nice. The other thing is that you have to understand your body recovers by two different methods. One is nourishment and one is sleep. And when you're not getting enough nourishment, i.e., calories and micronutrients, then your body is going to make you more tired to make you sleep more, and vice versa. If you're um, getting tons and tons of calories in, then you're going to have a lot more energy throughout the day, and you can probably exist and thrive with less hours of sleep. So, first things first is get better sleep. Some things that you can do to improve on the sleep. We've talked about this a million times over, not just with you, but I know I've preached this like beating a dead horse at this point. But it's obviously like putting screens away an hour before bed, at least 30 minutes before bed. Invest in some blue light glasses. Probably at like the $50 plus mark is where you're going to get some quality ones because anything cheaper than that, they're kind of scammy ones that don't actually block blue light. But if you can block blue light with some blue light glasses, especially if you're on screens all the time, blue light signals into your brain to blunt the melatonin attachment to your adrenal receptors. So melatonin is naturally produced in your brain, and it tells your body to fall asleep when the sun is down, and that's how you set your circadian rhythm. The sun's down, you're getting more tired. Sun comes up, your body naturally starts to wake up a little bit. Blue light simulates the sun in your body's mind. So when you're constantly consuming blue light, even if the sun's down, you don't feel as tired. Those blue light glasses will help melatonin set in and get you tired and sleepy. Fish oil, really good for cognitive health, and we just simply don't get enough omega 3s in our diet. If we're eating lots of processed foods, you're getting lots and lots and lots of omega 3s. Sorry, omega 6. We don't need a ton of omega 6. We need omega 3s. So, getting a simple fish oil supplement, you do not need to spend a ton of money. It does not need to be anything crazy, special, formulated bullshit. Just go to Costco and get a fish oil supplement and take one a day. It's literally that simple. I take mine with my breakfast in the morning because if I take it solo, like in between meals, then I get like some fishy burps and stuff, and that's like you feel like this rancid, oily thing in the back of your throat. I tried filming a piece of content the other day, and I had that, and it was like impossible because I kept like having to clear my throat with this weird, nasty fish in the back of my throat. So take a fish oil first thing in the morning. It's going to help with your hormones. It's going to help with your cognitive health. That in turn will improve your sleep. Vitamin D3 is also something that we're very deficient in. And when we're supplementing things that we're deficient in, it's going to help holistically around everything. So that will inherently help your sleep as well. Before bed, magnesium. And I've been taking L-theanine. I don't know if I'm going to get L-theanine again. I've heard tons of incredible things for cognitive health. It's also really good for like preventing against dementia. So I mean, in that, for that alone, like I might just continue taking it. But L-theanine, like magnesium, will help calm and relax your body so that you can get a more restful sleep when you go to bed. It's not necessarily going to add more hours, but it is going to help you get a restful sleep. And that's going to increase your REM, that increases your recovery, so on and so forth. We already talked about sleep and how that reduces hunger. So get the sleep part settled in. Next, lots of water. Coffee counts as water too, by the way. Okay. In your coffee, it's 99.99% water, and there's a little bit of coffee that gets infused into that. Coffee itself is a diuretic, yes, but you're drinking a lot of water to get that diuretic. So ultimately, it's actually a net positive in terms of hydration. Um, so water, lots of water. Coffee's great, especially before 12 p.m. I would say after 12, definitely after 2, cut out the caffeine because that's going to, the caffeine and melatonin both compete for those adrenal receptors. Caffeine is going to keep you up, melatonin puts you down, not dead. So have some caffeine because caffeine itself will also blunt hunger. I prefer to be hungrier. Again, back to like you got to select the hours of the day that you're hungry because you're going to be hungry. I prefer to be hungry at the beginning of the day because I just got up from a restful sleep. So I'm going to have a bit more energy. I'm not going to be as hungry first thing in the morning. So I can kind of avoid it in that case too. And then I'll pound coffee and water. So that's going to, if I'm really dieting hard and back to those bodybuilding days, my whole goal was put off my first meal as far as I can. And I got to the point where I wouldn't even have my breakfast until after 12 p.m. And that made it so much easier because I've essentially, you could call it intermittent fasting. I've essentially just shortened my eating window from 8 a.m. or in my case right now, I'm eating as early as 6 in the morning, from 6 to 6, which is normally like I have dinner around 6 p.m. That's 12 hours where I'm spreading out those limited calories that I have, instead cutting it to like 6 hours. That helps a lot. So the second half of the day, after I've burnt some energy, the like restful sleepness part is worn off. Also, like most, excuse me, most people in the afternoon kind of get like a little bit sleepy, especially after lunch and stuff. But if I'm like working in the middle of the day, so I'm very attentive to what I'm doing, my energy is focused on work. I'm maybe getting a workout in the afternoon. I know that's not possible for everybody. And I'm pushing my meals to the second half of the day when I can get my energy up from food that way. Then I can be full in the second half of the day, which is amazing because I don't want to go to bed hungry. And I'll choose to be hungry early in the day. Last final things on this too is just loading the fuck up on veggies. Like when I'm dieting really really hard, my lunch is basically just chicken breast in terms of what, as far as my fitness pal is concerned, it's chicken breast and maybe some Greek yogurt. But I'll take the biggest mixing bowl that I can, like a baking mixing bowl that you would make a bunch of cookies in, and I'll load that up with like a whole head of lettuce. I'll put in 1 or 2 handfuls of spinach, a bunch of diced tomatoes, red onion, bell peppers, and just make this giant fucking salad. And then throw like 250 grams of chicken breast in there. It takes forever to eat that. And it's so high in volume. It's literally like overflowing on this mixing bowl that by the time I'm finished it, which takes me about 30 minutes just to eat it, and I am stuffed and I'm good until, 4 p.m. So if I'm having my first meal at like 12 and that's like eggs and toast, now I'm good until like 4 p.m. I have that giant salad. I don't even feel like I need to eat until 8, but I'll probably eat still at 6. So by the time I go to bed, I'm feeling pretty full actually. And I'll just fight the hunger in the first half of the day with the caffeine, the water. And in your case, this is great. Activity also will blunt hunger because when you're exercising, even low intensity exercise like walking pushes blood to your extremities. Your body's now focused on movement. It's not in the rest digest state. It's in the fight flight mode. Your parasympathetic nervous system kicks in, meaning that like your alertness is heightened. That means that your body is pushing blood to the areas of your body that need to function in terms of physical activity. When you sit down and rest and relax and chill out, then your body is like in this very relaxed, passive state, and blood will start coming towards your stomach. And that starts telling you, we got to eat. Even when you're not necessarily hungry, it'll do that. So, activity, water, caffeine, good sleeps, push your meals as far back as you can and be full at the second half of the day rather than the morning. That's my policy when it comes to it for me, but that may need to change for you depending on when you want to be full. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that helped a lot. Follow-up question.
Yeah.
When it comes to like being hangry, is there like a science to that? Because my problem I'm finding if I'm hungry in the morning with nannying and the kids just psychotic always, I have a shorter temper with them.
Mhm.
Is that a thing, or am I making that up and just need to get into routine and it will
Probably
go
is a
away?
thing. It probably is. I'd be surprised if it isn't. But let me ask you this. Okay, let's pretend I know the answer for sure is yes. There's tons and tons of studies that support that. Now what? What are you gonna do now?
Um, eat a little thing in the morning and then deal
Okay.
with the hunger later.
Yeah, yeah, cool. That's then do that. Yeah. Again, that just falls back onto the whole preference thing. Because like, okay, that we have that information now. Let's imagine, yeah, that's true. That is true. You are gonna be more temperamental, if you're hungrier. I think I don't know how anybody could dispute that. Who isn't a little bit more temperamental, a little bit shorter fuse when they're hungry? Everybody's gonna agree with that. Even if there's no science behind it, if that's a perception of life that you have, then that's a perception of life that you have. So you got to manage that however you can. That maybe that means for you in the morning you're having like, I'm trying to keep the calories as low as I can. So maybe I'm having like a protein shake with a bunch of berries. Berries are high in volume because they carry a lot of water. Like just imagine any type of berry, strawberry, a blueberry, a raspberry, anything. If you were to take a regular fresh berry and just squeezed in your hand's going to be filled with liquid and juice, right? That's all water. So that's going to add a ton of hydration too. If you had like a scoop of protein, maybe like 100 grams of berries and a fuckload of water, and then you stuff in like an apple in there. Apples are very low calorie, lots of fiber in there. Put some spinach and some celery in there. You're adding more volume, you're adding more fiber, more veggies, more water, and you're sipping on that in the morning. I mean, you're tracking at that point 120 to 150 grams in protein powder and 100 grams of berries. So you're probably all in at 200 calories in the morning if you made a smoothie like that. And if you can sip on that smoothie for the first couple hours of the day, you're still going to be like on the hungrier side, but it's probably not going to be that like biting, gnawing at you hunger that you're just like you're consciously thinking of how hungry and miserable you are. I think that would be a really good way. And if you could just budget 200 calories in the morning to like high volume, high protein smoothies, that might be like a really good fix for you.
Yeah, that sounds like it would work.
Yeah.
Well, I'll start doing that.
Cool, dude. Awesome. So what we'll do then, just before we go over to Raven, is Aubrey, for you, I'm gonna update your calories to 1792. We're gonna do a bit of a higher jump to start. Gonna bring your protein down to 30%. Your carbs are gonna go to 45%. That's gonna give you 201 grams of carbs. And fats we're going to keep at 49. And the reason why we're going to try to keep the carbs as high as we can is because carbohydrates, high quality carbohydrates with fiber, will help transport and eliminate cortisol. So that should help reduce some stress for you too. And stress can be a limiting factor with weight loss. So we're going to focus on that. I'm just going to set a little countdown timer so you and I are on the same page with this and we don't forget, i.e., I don't forget. Gonna update this real quick, and then while I'm doing this, Raven, you can go ahead and unmute, share a win, and ask your question.
Hello, good morning.
Hello.
My win is that for yesterday, I only ate the one donut and I didn't get one of all of those because they all looked so good.
Yeah, those looked incredible.
Yeah, it's this place called Voodoo Donuts. They have all these specialty kind and oh my
Yeah,
God.
that's in
Yeah, this
Texas.
yeah,
Okay, I've been to
yeah, in
one
San
in
Antonio.
I've been to one in Oregon before, in Portland, and there's a lineup like around the corner. But they're very creative, cool little donuts. So nice. Well, they're big
Yeah,
donuts. So
they were so good. I got my one, I stuck with my one, and I didn't get another or all of them like I wanted.
nice, good.
Um, yeah. And then my question is, so I've noticed like in my workouts, y'all have the timers kind of in between each set. And
Yep.
like some of them are more time, some are less time. And then you can also skip timer, add 30 seconds, subtract 30 seconds.
Mhm.
Is there importance to how much time is in between each set? Because sometimes it's like, oh, I feel like I need another 30 seconds. And there's times where I'm like, oh, okay, like I'm just kind of pacing, waiting for the clock to run down to start the next one.
Yeah, that's an awesome question. I'm actually, it's funny you asked that because I'm right now building a workout program that includes a lot of insight, and it's actually there's so much stuff in here that you guys would find extremely valuable. I'm gonna include this in some of the resources to help with
Hmm.
this. So, and there is a FAQ video that I built a year and a half, 2 years ago or something that you have access to. If you go to resources and find in the FAQ folder, you'll find rest a rest time video. So definitely watch that after this too. But
Okay.
the philosophy around the rests is that you should be resting for at least the time period that we've given you. And ideally, you only need to rest for the time period that we've given you, but there's nothing wrong with adding another 30 seconds if you need to the timer. It does, I would say, shortening those rest times instead of shortening your rest times. If you're like, I feel like I got it, it's a minute in and you're supposed to rest two or something, that should actually just be a really strong reminder that you're probably not pushing yourself hard enough in your sets. Because if you're working hard enough, you will need the rest. You should feel like the rest that's been given to you by your coach is given to you for a reason. It's given to you so that you can not just get the burn out of the muscle and allow the muscle to feel like relaxed, but it also allows your central nervous system to calm down for a second. So that's like a deeper level of recovery. The first level is like the muscle now feels not in pain. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the muscle is fully recovered because if your central nervous system is still like not recovered in that your central nervous system is almost never fully recovered. Even if you take a couple days off of the gym entirely, your central nervous system is still dealing with everything that's going on in real life. So that's going to constantly kind of have some level of fatigue happening at like maybe a 3 or 4 on the rest days. During a heavy working set of squats or hip thrusts or deadlifts, your central nervous system is at like 8, 9, 10. But in between
Hmm.
those sets, that's the time when you need to really allow your central nervous system to calm down a little bit so that you can come back into that next set and be fully recovered. And if you genuinely are fully recovered with less rest, then you're not probably lifting as much as you should be for that set.
Okay.
So so I would say the rule of thumb is that you shouldn't ever lower the rest timer, but if you are given like 2 minutes to rest on a back squat, and after 2 minutes, you're like, damn, I could really use another 30 seconds. Totally go for it. Add another 30 seconds on there. Nothing wrong with that.
Okay. And but if I'm feeling like consistently, which I haven't been, I was just curious if I'm like decreasing the time in between, I probably need to increase the weight then.
Yeah, totally. So let's see. I'm going to actually share my screen and read through with both of you these 2 pages that I just finished up this morning of this new plan. So this is the philosophy. And the workout plan is called Sculpt, so that's why you're seeing that. But the biggest mistake that most women make is that if progress is slowed down, I need to do more. If you've been training for a while, you've probably noticed that the fast paced, high volume workouts that worked in the beginning don't hit the same anymore. You leave tired but unchanged. We're going to get into fatigue and stimulus in the next page, but I'll get there in a sec. That's because your body is adapted. As you become more trained, your body requires a stronger and more intentional stimulus to progress. You need to do less but better in terms of overall volume. 4 intentional training days will outperform 6 scattered ones because muscle is built during recovery. If you're constantly breaking your body down without adequate rest, you never give it a chance to fully adapt and grow. 2 minute rest periods will outperform 30-second ones because strength requires nervous system recovery. Short rests limit the load that you can lift, and load is one of the primary drivers for muscle growth. 4 to 5 well selected exercises will outperform random ones because after your main compound lifts, you should feel cooked. 2 to 3 complementary exercises will be more than enough to trigger stimulus for progress without driving fatigue so high that you can't recover. So when you're shortening these rest periods, particularly on your compounds like squats, deadlifts, hip thrusts, rows, pull-ups, bench press, things like that, then you're feeling really tired after your workout. You might feel like you're going to get the same endorphin rush, which is the confusing part about it. Because after those workouts, when you're like pushing through really hard, you're shortening your rests, you're like heart rate's way up here, you're sweating buckets, you feel like you just got a really good workout, but your muscles haven't actually performed at the highest capacity that they can. Your central nervous system is just like freaking out. And that feels good after the workout because you're like, damn, I got a great workout. More exercise does not equal more growth. It often just equals more inflammation and stalled progress. Sculpt is built around quality over quantity. We focus on heavy compound lifts. And Sculpt, by the way, is essentially the philosophy that we take when we coach each one of you individually, packaged into one document for people who are not our clients to just understand how they should be training to get better results. So this isn't exclusive to this one very specific program that's being built. This is the philosophy for how we coach all of you. Heavy controlled compound lifts, sufficient rest to feel strong after each set, moderate intentional accessory work, progress over time. And then on the stimulus versus fatigue. So this is how we can kind of envision this in the actual workout itself. Every workout creates two things, stimulus and fatigue. Stimulus signals the body to build muscle. Fatigue is the cost of your body pays to recover. Fatigue is unavoidable, but managing it is how Sculpt optimizes results. Most women create high fatigue with short rest periods, circuits, and excessive volume, but the actual muscle building stimulus is low. This is why your workouts feel really hard, but they don't produce much results. In Sculpt, we maximize the stimulus to fatigue ratio. 80% of your fatigue should come from the compound lift of the day. I'm going to say that again. That first exercise after your warm up, 80% of your fatigue should come from the compound movement of the day. Compound movements recruit the most muscle, allow the heaviest loads, and create the greatest hypertrophic effect, that's muscle building effect, when performed with high intensity. Half of your workout time will be spent on this first exercise. Between your warm-up sets and the rest in between and the heavy weights that you're lifting, if I'm working out for an hour, 30 minutes is going to be me sitting in the squat rack doing the squats. The biggest lever that you can pull to force your body to adapt. This is the biggest lever. The exercises that follow support the stimulus without burying you in junk volume. So if it's a quad focused leg day, for example, you're probably going to start with some type of squat variation. That's that big first compound lift taking 50% of your time and 80% of your fatigue. And following that, the 2 to 3 exercises, just off the top of my head, might be like leg extensions, walking lunges, and maybe like some sissy squats to burn everything out at the end. This exercise, the exercise that follows support the stimulus without burning you in junk volume. This approach is sustainable, measurable, and far more effective than random hit circuits that create exhaustion without progression. So that is like how I want you to think about your workouts. That first exercise, you should be going balls to the wall. It's going to take most of your time. After that first exercise is fully completed, all those sets, you should genuinely feel like you've gotten enough out of that workout for the day. And then the other exercises following that are complementing the workout that you just started with to really kind of finish it off, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Usually after that first one, I'm like, oh my God, I still have 3 more exercises to do, or
Good. Perfect.
however many are in there.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you're, and that's good. Now you're like, okay, I feel like I can get back into it after a minute, minute 30, but it's supposed to be 2 minutes or 3 minutes. Then you can maximize those results. Like you could still feel as fatigued, like 80% of your fatigue is probably still going to be built, even if you take a shorter rest period, but the muscle wasn't being taxed as much as it possibly could. So we want to try
Okay.
to optimize for that by giving yourself the full rest, add another 5 pounds, feel equally as fatigued, but now the muscle is under more tension. You're making more progress.
Okay. Got it. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Anything else?
Mm, no, sir. I believe that's it.
Cool, cool, cool. Well, if either one of you think of anything else in the meantime, then by all means, you're welcome to go ahead and share and pop and ask a question. I'm going to pull my Zoom screen down so I won't see if you guys are typing or anything. You need to unmute and just shout at me. And if you see anybody else pop in, if you're just hanging out for the rest of the time too, let them know too. Let them know to unmute and share a win right away, because they're probably going to be expecting me to call on them, and I just simply won't see it. But I'm here for y'all.
I think I do have another one.
Yeah, Aubrey.
Um, so my workouts just changed and they're higher reps.
Yeah.
Um, and I noticed that like for today, what was it? Incline barbell Smith machine chest press.
Yep.
And it's up to 12 now. So I had to drop the weight significantly from when I was doing 5 to 8 last
Yeah.
week. And then I notice I'm just trying to focus on completing the 12 and I lose the mind to muscle connection and also like tempo goes down too.
Okay. Okay. So what's your question?
So yeah. I guess how do I make that better? Or I feel like I got more of the muscle like burn with the lower reps, whereas this is more like endurance based
Yeah.
instead of the muscle.
Yeah, so it's not quite endurance based. It'll depend on your baseline cardiovascular conditioning. So the 5 to 8 reps is not going to really tax your cardio very much. 8 to 12 will be a little bit more. 15 to 30 is going to be almost exclusively, maybe you shouldn't say almost exclusively, but it definitely is going to be a lot more cardio intensive. So this just tells us a couple things. If you're feeling really fatigued after 12, one, it's been a while since we've done higher repetitions. Like you've been doing less than 8 reps for months at this point. So getting into this rep range is challenging a different, it's challenging the same muscle fibers, but in a different way. And it's demanding your body to build up greater tolerance for more repetitions. So it's going to be uncomfortable. Yeah, it's going to tax your cardio a little bit. You're probably feeling more fatigued, like in your lungs after each set than you were before. That's totally normal. You're deconditioned from a cardiovascular perspective. So it's going to feel a little bit different. Um, that means that your body over time, over the next, even probably by next week, you're going to be like, oh, I feel more adept at being able to maintain the weight and the tempo with these reps. So you don't need to change the weight. If I know you've already lowered it, and that's good. You have to get to 12, obviously, because 5 to 8 was supposed to, like everything that we're doing, supposed to bring you to muscle failure. So obviously, we can't just be like, okay, let's just do double the reps. So you had to lower the weight a little bit, which is fine. But if you're concerned that, like, damn, I'm not really feeling the burn or the mind muscle connection as much, and I'm feeling way more tired afterwards, that is just part of the adaptation. So, um, muscle burning and mind muscle connection, they're great indicators that you're hitting the target muscle, but they're not ultimate indicators. They're not absolute, meaning that you don't have to feel a strong mind muscle connection to get growth and stimulus in the muscle. We know that when you are doing incline Smith machine bench press, you are working your chest and your shoulders and your triceps to a degree. It's happening. It has to. Those muscle fibers have to fire for the weight to move. So you may not feel that connection right now, but I'm almost certain that in the next 24, 48 hours, you're going to feel those muscles. They're going to probably be lit up quite a bit more than they have been in a really long time. And as you continue with the higher repetitions, you're going to get better and better at bringing that mind muscle connection to the higher reps too. You're probably just not feeling it as much because you're just fucking spent. Like after your 12 reps, you're like, God damn, I'm like tired. Like I feel like I just ran. So you're not getting the same mind muscle connection right now. You don't feel like you are because your cardio is kind of the limiting factor, but that'll improve over time. And if you want to improve it faster, then getting in a little bit of cardio sessions after your workout, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with you going on the treadmill or a bike for 20 minutes and doing some like light to moderate cardio. No hit, no full out sprint type efforts, but getting on the cardio machine and getting the blood flowing and getting some good sweating happening, you'll recover faster and you'll notice that like you can adapt a little bit faster too.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a little bit uncomfortable. That's like, I went when I was 21, I did a bodybuilding competition And I was then after the competition, I started bulking up and getting ready for another bodybuilding competition I was going to do in 12 months. And 3, 4 months in, I was like, I hate bodybuilding. Like, I hate being so one dimensional. And I was telling another client this yesterday. I hate being one dimensional with my fitness. Um, so that's what, and then I watched a Netflix documentary. I don't know if it's still on Netflix, but it was called Fittest on Earth, CrossFit Games or CrossFit Games Fittest on Earth, 2016 and 2017. Some of the most inspirational movies that I had watched in terms of just like overall fitness level. That's the first time I ever saw CrossFit being executed at a professional level. I didn't even know before watching those that CrossFit like could be done at a professional level. All that I had ever seen in 2016 and prior was like terrible YouTube videos of people who were skinny and had no idea how to lift and were doing these terrible workouts and hurting themselves. And that's what CrossFit was to me before watching that. And I watched it, and I'm watching people lift 300 pounds over their head and then do, handstand walking and then swimming events all in the same day and sometimes even in the same workout. They're the craziest workouts you've ever done, and they're most challenging. That inspired me to switch immediately from bodybuilding directly over to CrossFit. And right prior to doing the switch, I was still doing all my bodybuilding workouts, but I started trying to sprinkle in a little bit of CrossFit stuff. So my warm-ups were handstand walking and some double unders and trying to get the kipping technique and the butterfly technique with the pull-ups, the ones that everybody makes fun of, the CrossFit pull-ups. And I got okay at doing some of those movements. And it was very, very challenging. It was a great way to get my warm-ups in. And that's what inspired the warm-ups that all of you do now, where your warm-ups are a combination of two different exercises in a superset fashion. It's a fast, quick, efficient way to get your heart rate up. And it tackles the core exercises. So you're getting your abs done early, which nobody likes doing abs when they're super tired at the end of their workout. Everyone skips them. And it gets your heart rate up and it gets the joints moving, which is exactly what a really, really effective warm up is. That was inspired by me wanting to switch from bodybuilding to CrossFit. So, I got my cardio up doing that a little bit, but then when I switched over to doing CrossFit entirely and I joined what they call it a box, a CrossFit box, and I joined one of their little cults, those workouts were brutal. I was dying. The fatigue was insane. And that's what CrossFit's all about. It's about maximizing fatigue, and hopefully there's a bit of stimulus that goes along with it. So they're very brutal workouts. They're very challenging workouts. Definitely increase your cardio. Good for developing different skills like the pull-ups and muscle-ups and the Olympic lifting, power cleans, all that kind of stuff. Very cool skill building type workouts, but definitely not great for muscle building, toning, building real strength. But in the initial transition from somebody who did, 5 to 15 reps of a very controlled movement patterns, isolating muscle groups into full body, total exhaustion that can be done in 5 minutes in some cases for some of those workouts, I was fucked up. And that was a very, very challenging adaptation. So you're going through right now and for the next couple weeks, a lesser version of that, and it won't be comfortable.
Yeah, I hate it, but I get it. Now I understand.
And it's great that we're combining the higher repetitions for you with the increased calories because you're going to be burning a lot more calories with these workouts. Like your metabolism is going to pick up a lot. And because we're fueling you more, particularly with carbs, it's going to support those higher repetitions and allow you to do a little bit more. So we have a nice little balance between slowly increasing the calories and dramatically increasing the repetitions. Your metabolism is going to pick up a lot. We're probably going to be eating like 2,500 calories and you're going to maintain your body weight. And if we can do that and then drop you down 1,000 calories, 800 calories, whew, we'll see some pretty incredible fat loss happening.
Okay, yeah, I'm glad I got, and now I understand, and it's encouraging.
Cool. Good. I'm glad. Good to hear.
And I
Good
gotta
question.
hop off now, but thank you.
All right, dude. No worries. I will see you later. Looks like you got all your food tracked up, so that's great.
Okay, bye.
All right. I don't see anybody else in yet. So, Raven, again, if you have anything else, by all means. Otherwise,
Nope.
I got Zoom hidden on my screen, so we'll wait for somebody to pop on, and then I can bark at them to force them to ask a question. I think most people should know at this point. Hey, you got to ask a question if you come on here.
You've put it all over the chats.
I have, right? I feel like I've tried to be very clear with this and give people a lot of opportunities to figure out how we do this now. So,
Yeah, well, sometimes the threads are a little difficult to follow because it's not like in the groups, it was directly attached to what was there. So now it's like, wait, hold on, scroll back up, see what are they talking about?
yeah, yeah, I hear you. And I thought about that too before we made these chats. I was like, hey, what is this? How is this going to negatively impact everybody? You got to balance. You got to really kind of think of all of those things. And I kind of came to realize that it's like, there's going to be pros and cons with it, but it ultimately is pretty much the same. And in the groups, you still have to scroll down to find what's going on for everybody. But I guess the biggest difference is that when somebody makes a post inside those groups, people can comment directly on that thing, so you can keep them organized in that way, I guess. But I find that the community chats that we have now, although they can be like a lot of things that are happening, it's easier to stay in touch and connected with everybody. It's much quicker. It's boom, you're in there, cool, we see what's going on, send a reply. One thing that I would love for EverFit, I cannot believe that they don't have this. It's ridiculous. Is why are we not getting reaction emojis available to messages? This is like a standard operating procedure ever since touchscreen phones existed that you could do this stuff. Every communication app that exists, WhatsApp, Snapchat. I can't believe I said Snapchat is my second option. I never use it. Messenger, Instagram, texting, everything has an ability to react directly to a message and send an emoji. So when people post a cool win, rather than having to type out "nice job," because most people aren't doing that, I'm sure a lot more people would engage if they could simply just do a little heart emoji or something on someone's cool ass lift.
No, yeah, like WhatsApp, you can just like respond like with regular text messaging. Yeah, I feel like sometimes there's engagement and other times there's just not, if that makes sense. Versus like in the groups, you had the post and people could just like it versus having to comment on everything, you know?
Yeah, 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 exactly. So I'm hoping that EverFit makes that change in the near future. Can't really guarantee that they will, of course, but I think overall the chats have kept people a little bit more engaged with everything that's going on. I'm seeing more faces and more people. Excuse me, people who normally don't message or comment in groups. They're putting stuff in the chats, which is nice to see. So I've got
Yeah.
something that's come up for a client who asked me a question early this morning. I haven't got to them yet. So I'm going to answer it here in case anybody else has this question come up too. This is from Jess. She said, how do I track my drop sets properly? Or is it more important that I just record the weight I start with? There's no input for me to put all the different weights for each amount of reps for each weight. So in EverFit, when your coach assigns a drop set, is when you're doing your sets or for your exercise. For warm ups, is WW, right? And then with working sets, it's 1, 2, 3, and then there's also a drop set option and there's a failure option. For drop set, there's a D instead of a number, and for failure, it's an F instead of a number or a D. And what she's saying is like, Taylor, you've told me the set indicates it's a drop set because there's a D there, but I can't necessarily just drop. I can't select how much weight I'm using for each drop set. It's still the same format. It's how much weight and how many reps. So she's like, how do I actually indicate that for me as a coach so I can see, and for her so she can see how much she's lifting there? And the answer for her is simply to put in the weight that you started with and then do as many as you can for that set. That's really what the answer is that unfortunately, because you can't manipulate how many reps and how much weight for each drop you're doing, you're just going to put in the weight that you start with and the total reps that you complete. So in Jess's case, for her specifically, she just shifted very similarly to Aubrey. She just shifted from about 5 to 8 repetitions to 20 repetitions. And I told her, hey, I don't even want you to lower the weight on your first attempt before the drop set. So whatever weight you were using for 5 to 8, stick to that for the 20. And then once you hit failure, drop the weight a little bit, keep going. If you can't get to the full 20, even after dropping it, drop the weight again and keep accumulating reps until you get to 20. Really, really challenging workouts. She's working out for about 15 to 20 minutes, including her warm-ups. Oh, sorry, no, they're including her warm-ups. That was a no, she's about 30, 35 minutes total. Either way, she's doing one compound, one big heavy compound, and then a superset afterwards of 2 exercises. And that is it. And now she's drop setting all of that stuff. So we're just adding a lot more volume, which is going to add a lot more fatigue. But because we're keeping the weights the same as when she was doing 5 to 8, we're now increasing the stimulus to a massive degree. This is not a format of training that can be sustained for a long period of time because you will build lots and lots of fatigue over time. Even after your workout is completed, your fatigue doesn't just reset down to 0 the next day. Your fatigue is still higher because your central nervous system takes a lot more time to recover than your muscles. So each day you hit ideally like a 10 out of 10 stimulus, and in her case, likely a 9, 8 or 9 out of 10 on fatigue. The fatigue is very, very high. After the workout, stimulus comes back down to 0, let's say, even though muscle protein synthesis does take about 48 to 72 hours. So she's still recovering and building muscle following her workout for the next couple days at least. But the fatigue doesn't drop a whole lot. It might drop from like 8, 9 during the workout when you're obviously like very, very fatigued and pushing yourself very hard, down to like a 4 or a 5. And then you do your next workout, it comes back up again to 8, 9, 10, and it drops down to a 5 or a 6. That's after day 2. And after day 3, again, both stimulus and fatigue are up to that 8, 9, 10 mark. And then stimulus comes back down, but fatigue is only going down to 5, 6. So by the end of the week, she's realistically, her fatigue is probably still closer to the 7+ range on a scale of 1 to 10. Obviously, we're just kind of using arbitrary numbers, but just to give you a realistic idea, she's going to be very, very fatigued at the end of the week. Those 2 rest days are going to be really important for bringing fatigue down as low as possible, which realistically is still probably at least a 2, 3, or a 4 before she starts day 1 again on the next week. So doing this week after week after week after week, your fatigue is slowly climbing. The baseline fatigue is slowly climbing. And if you keep training like that, eventually you hit a genuine burnout where the weight that you were doing in week 1 cannot be done at all in week 4. So that's when we would take a full deload week, no drop sets. We're not doing 20 reps of massive weight. We're lowering the sets. In her case, it would actually just be reps because she's only doing 2 sets of her work. She knows she has to go balls to the wall on every rep, every set. So we'd bring her reps down, we bring her weight down for a full week on all workouts, allow fatigue to get back down as close to 0 as possible, probably like a 1 or a 2. And then on her week following the deload, because fatigue is so low, she can come into it and hit a bunch of PRs for that entire first week, build fatigue over the next 4 weeks, and then another deload. And we kind of repeat that process. Even with that full deload, it's really not sustainable for more than 2 to 3 cycles of 3 weeks pushing hard and a deload. So she's got maybe 12 weeks of this type of really, really intense effort before we just have to slow down the fatigue by changing up the workouts a little bit. Got a little bit off topic with that one, but Jess, to answer your question, back to that again, it's on the drop sets, you just got to put in the weight that you're lifting for your first set before the drop set, and then put in the total reps. So we just can't track exactly how much weight you're dropping when you do the drop set. And that's okay, because realistically, all that I care about is that you're lifting the same weight as you when you were doing 5 to 8. But over time, the idea is that your 5 to 8 rep weight before dropping gets you to like 9, 10, 11, 12 reps before you have to drop. And that there will tell us that you are, on the right track with it. So, with that being said, the way that I'm going to change up my advice for her, the reps say 20, you're doing the same weight as 5 to 8. Just track how many reps you can do before you have to drop. So I'm telling you to do 20, but you're going to report it as 8 or 9 because that's when you have to drop it. That's where you're going to record it. Now, when you're judging your effort and your progress over time, you're comparing how many reps you're doing with the same weight and how the reps are increasing before the drop set's done. Hopefully that makes sense. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's going to be it for our support call on Monday. Hope that you guys got a ton of value. I think that this is a really productive call. If you're a client and you're watching this later, post your biggest takeaway inside the general chat. If you are not a client and watching this on YouTube, listening on the podcast, you're interested in getting coaching done, want to know what it's all like, shoot me a message on Instagram. You can just search up Taylor Hinton, women's recomp specialist, or at Hinton Nation _coaching. Shoot me a message and we'll have a quick chat to see if you and I are a good fit. If we are, we'll schedule a call together where we can meet properly face to face on Zoom, come up with a plan for you, and see if it makes sense for us to work together. All right, that's it, everybody. Have an amazing Monday. Peace out.